Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Well, Dana, we just now turned recording on, but we got some really good conversation beforehand. Things like how do we get to Taylor Swift in Indy next year? Let's go to the beach house and do some planning, all kinds of good stuff.
All kinds of stuff. And I did have one thing I wanted to tell you before we start, which was I got so off track wearing my Aura ring for like the last probably 3 or 4 months. And I'm back this week. But I can't remember. And I told Adam, I said, Linda will know the answer to this. What do I need my HRV to be at?
Everybody's HRV is different. Okay. Higher is better. Like, what was your number? Do you know?
40s.
Oh, okay. Probably for as young as you are, that's a little low.
Yeah.
But it's not horrible. Like Jimmy's is like in the teens, which his sleep is all screwed up.
Yeah.
Mine, if I'm doing everything right to try to get good sleep, like putting the blue blocking glasses on.
Yep.
I wish I could do my meditation, all that stuff, but I haven't got there yet. But all the things to help you sleep, I might get in the 40s a few times if I'm lucky.
Okay.
But my goal is to keep getting it up.
Sleep has been really good, like in the 90s, which I'm a pretty good sleeper, but my readiness has not been good. It's been low. And I was wondering if it was because I can't get that HRV.
Well, exercise.
46.
Exercise will help.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you consistently exercise, that makes it go up. Swimming makes it go up. Just really kind of trying to get, and then also getting up first thing in the morning and stepping outside to the sun as soon as it comes up.
Okay, I do that actually. I kind of do that because I walk before the sun comes, like when the sun's coming up usually. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyway, that's
all right. Good. Well, yeah, I'm getting back to monitoring my sleep. So I'm like, okay, I knew that I couldn't remember what I needed that to be at.
Well, sleep's one of the most important things, but it's the most overlooked usually.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about today. You and I talked about. I'm hearing from a lot of agents, really frustrated. I mean, even big teams who really are struggling with the current market. So you and I are going to talk about what are the, 5-6 things that we would do immediately. In this market, because you and I both have lived through downturns. Matt and I were talking yesterday. Matt is someone who's helping me with TeamBridge in one of my offices. And we were talking about an agent that has 3 listings, but they can't get them sold. And so I said, how long has she been in the market? She's only been in a year. She didn't know about price reduction. She doesn't know about all the skills you need in this market. So what would you be your first advice? Let's give them 5 or 6 things.
Okay.
If you and I were having to go do it right now, we'd immediately do.
Okay, well, I came up with a list of tactical things, but my first thing is not really a tactical thing, and it's actually the first thing in the shift book, and I think it's the most important, and it's just I would get my mindset right, because it's not going to be what it was the last 3 years, and everybody I feel like is still holding on to that so tightly, and I feel like everybody has to get, the first thing they have to do is get their mindset right that it's not going to be the same. It is going to be harder. They are going to have to do different strategies and work harder, and they're going to have to probably really understand the local market at an even higher level, because what's happening in Kentucky is the opposite of what's happening in Columbus right now. Like everywhere is different.
And you can have 2 or 3 things going on in your own city. I mean, you can have one hot market or whatever. And that kind of ties into what my first tactical advice is: figure out what's selling fast still. Because there's something that sells fast in every market. Find out, how big is that market? What price range is that? That's the market you want to go after, because it's usually the first time home buyer range. It's your median price range, or, entry level range. But those homes are still going to be in demand and sell no matter what in the heck's going on.
Yeah, I think in order to know that, you have to know your local market and more than ever. And I feel like a lot of agents who are newer into the business lately, they've never really understood their market. They've just been in that speed-based market. And I think that is really important. And I also think when you're getting your mindset right, I feel like agents are going to have to get back to remembering why they're doing this. why are they waking up every day and doing this, and what is the big why, as we kind of say.
Mm-hmm.
But because when it gets hard, I think sometimes it's just easy to throw in the towel.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we got to get back to really remembering why we're doing this every single day.
Well,
And oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, remember how you and I talk about the 1,000 feet or the 30,000 feet?
Yep.
I'm still just really devouring the book, Your Future Self Now. And one of the things that they talk about is, staying focused on what that future self is. And I think when a market gets tough, we get down into that mud, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, and you can't think, you can't focus. It's kind of depressing, all those things. Whereas if you've got an aim that's way out there of a brighter future self, that's, a 30,000 foot view of your life, this little down in the here is not a place you can be spending time. So I think your mindset depends on what are you focused on? What is your bigger future that is going to pull you through the muck and the mar of just the day-to-day stress of it all, right? And I always say to people, look, go figure out how many houses sold completely last month. And if your goal's not bigger, if your goal's not that big, then you're fine. You just got to go figure out how to get enough of the ones that sold. That's really, it's a math problem. It's a numbers game.
Well, it's exactly what Tony DeCello just said too at Mega Camp or at the CEO Summit, when he said all you have to figure out is what is the goal that you need, and then how many leads do you need to just go get that goal based. It does come down to a numbers game.
Yeah. And then number two, go ahead.
I was just going to share, I was just going to tell you a really quick story that has nothing to do with real estate, but I was thinking, sometimes I think we get off track of like why we're doing these big things. And actually I meant to tell you this because I kind of needed a little bit of counseling around it. But I think Adam kind of talked me through it. But when my dad passed, like those 2 weeks, there were times that I thought, like, why do I want to have such a big life? Like, why do I even then you're just gone, or like, it sounds so terrible to say, but really I was kind of like, why am I doing all this? Like, why do I want to have a really big life? And then something so simple as the fact that I still have his car in my cul-de-sac, and because it's like the one thing I'm like, I don't know, but for right now, I don't want to do anything with it. Like, I just like that it's sitting there. And, Adam said, well, because I had said that to Adam, and he said, well, I just want to tell you that I hope you correlated that together, that's why you do want to have a big life. Because if you want to say, hey, I'm just going to buy that and let it sit there for a week, you're blessed enough to be able to do that. And other people might not be in that situation. So I think sometimes when we go into a harder market, we really have to think about like the why we're doing this. And we have to get past the day-to-day stuff, because you talk about this all the time. When life unexpecteds happen, you're thankful that you pushed through the hard times, and you're thankful that you have a big life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I've been also devouring the 10X is easier than 2X. And I'm just so a believer that we're going to ask about the why am I doing this when we're too much in the 2X.
Totally agree with that.
When you're in the 10X, 10X might be I take off 150 days a year.
Yep.
I do the things that give me energy. I'm not so maxed out on my calendar that I can't go take a pee like you and I can sometimes do.
Yep.
So I think that's the bigger question, is because I truly believe the people that are at a 10X stage, they're not waking up and saying, I woke up many times in real estate going, remind me why I'm doing this again. That was my towards the end, that was my pretty common mantra. Remind me why I'm doing this again.
Yeah.
But I was still in the 2X. And so the minute I've gotten to 10X, and I think when you ask yourself that question, who is it? I haven't read this book, but I've heard about it. It's called The Obstacle is the Way.
Yeah, that's Ryan Holiday, who we just
Ryan
saw.
Holiday. Okay. I don't think I've read that. I want to read that book because somebody else just recommended it in their book. But I think what we need to do immediately when we feel like that's an obstacle or a question that's like that, turn it and say, what would make that question not be the question?
Yeah.
In other words, what is it about my life that I wouldn't ask that question?
Yep.
I would know very clearly why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
So that's my take on it. I feel like the farther away from 2x I've gotten in my life and the closer I've gotten to 10x, I don't ask those questions anymore.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I feel like we've talked about that book so much that if every listener at this point has not ordered it,
I reread it on the plane here this morning.
I need to reread it too.
Came from Texas to Ohio today for Pam's grand opening, and I I devoured it again. So between that and Your Future Self Now, I'm just really, and so I love them all. But so what my number 2 would be is, and this made me think of this when Matt and I were talking about this agent yesterday. She's one of the best we have on the TeamBridge teams.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about what's not working is she doesn't know how to work in this market. So the second thing I put down is, what else do I need to learn I haven't learned yet because I've never been in this market?
Yeah.
So what scripts and dialogues? How do I get price reductions? What's my system for talking to sellers more? Because one of the things he said to me is she's reduced one of them 3 times and the person won't go any lower. And I'm like, I could have that script with that person right now.
Yeah.
And figure out, do we have an option or do we not have an option? Because I always say in a seller's, in a buyer's market, in any market, you can't change somebody's motivation. But what you can do is figure out whether your time and energy is well spent with someone who is motivated.
Totally.
So, my light bulbs just went off. Everything he said, I said, well, can you get her to record her conversations? Because I can coach her through.
That's a good idea.
How to have better conversations to either get the person to change their motivation. In other words, I can't change their motivation, but realize their motivation is higher, or to figure out that they don't really have any motivation. Now, how can I utilize this opportunity? What's my option for this opportunity? Is it just to get buyers off of it? Is it, whatever? I'm a believer that you're better off to get a listing that sells than you are to get an overpriced one that doesn't sell and just use it for buyers. I don't like that strategy.
Yeah.
But what do you need to know? What, how do where can you learn more about price reductions? Where can you learn about now customer service and conversations on a regular basis? Feedback is important. Reading the shift book. You mentioned that. That's to me that I would dive into building my skill.
Yep. Well, that goes right into the next one that I had, number 3, which is the fall is clean up your database. And I love how Gary has that seasons of database that they share with us. But right now, from August 1st to October 1st is called fall cleanup. And so I would say if I were going to do another thing right now, it would be get your database 100% cleaned up, fill in all the missing email addresses, phone numbers, add anything that you don't have, because it gets you ready for the holidays, which is the best time to touch your database. And so if you don't have all of that already organized and cleaned up and tagged and your database isn't right, you aren't going to be able to move into the time of year where you can actually have the most touches on your database, because they're natural touches. It's normal to reach out to them then. But I would say right now, if you're slower, which most people are, don't use that time to panic. Use that time to get your database the best that you can possibly get it, because you're going to need it.
Yeah, and that made me think of something that we talked about yesterday on our Profit Share Mastery monthly mastermind call. A couple of the agents and I've always said, you should always figure out a backdoor approach. What's a backdoor to something you want to get? And so I've always said, look, one of the questions you should always ask every person you meet out in the public is, to say is, you might be good in my business, because then they have to ask you what's your business, and then the conversation goes towards real estate. And they always say, oh, my mother needs to sell her house, or I need to buy a house, blah, 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 blah. So yesterday, that's one of the things we teach in the Profit Share Mastery course. And one of the agents yesterday said that they had been running Facebook ads for open houses.
Love that.
And when the person either somehow when she's talking to the person, they're not interested, she asked them about real estate. Have they thought about a career in real estate? And she said, it's funny how one lady apologized for hanging up on her prior, because now she was interested in talking to her. So we need to think out of the box a little bit and, ask them something that is, and I always say a compliment is one of my best ways to get in a conversation with somebody, because nobody ever gets enough of them. Nobody minds a new one. But, you might be good in my business, or have you thought about a career in real estate? That has nothing to do, but that builds rapport. And now you are in a better position.
Yep.
And one of the things that lady said to her, because I apologize for hanging up on you. It's just everybody in the world is after me to list my house. Well, you got to do something different. You can't be one of those 15 or 20 that are doing that. What
Yep.
would be unique and different? And so looking for that backdoor approach to me is a great way to do that.
Yeah. That reminds me of when we had Brittany McAllister on, who you and I both love. And I think we've shared it before. If not, you can go back and find her episode. But she sold, I want to say somewhere between 15 and 20, maybe more, I don't know, Fizbos last year, because she was different than everybody else. And they would all say, like, we're all getting all these calls, we're all doing this. But she was just sending them one text. If they replied yes with their email address, she sent them her free Fizbo guide. Like, she was just giving them value.
Yeah.
Same text. And she got a good portion of her business was that because she was doing something different. And I actually had my next one I had goes with kind of what you just said. And I just said, right now, if I were panicking, I would go find open houses and I would work them every weekend and I would do them the right way, because so many of us built our businesses from working open houses. I mean, I worked them 7 days a week for 2 years straight. And that was where I got business from. Obviously it was new construction, but if you aren't, or if you're somebody that said, I've worked open houses and I don't get anything from them. I just was talking to an agent in one of my market centers, and she had 35 people come through an open house. She said she got between 4 and 6 that she felt like would be good leads. She put out 20 directional signs. She spent $50 on Facebook to boost it. Like, she did it she had balloons out. I'm like, you don't even see balloons out anymore for open houses. I remember having to go to Kroger and blow those things up.
But, oh God, me too. Oh, and then they're blowing all over the place. The little string is twisting. Oh God, yes.
Yes, I know. It's like, oh my gosh, PTSD over the balloons. But I will say that is a great way to get business. So if you are an agent that's like, man, I feel like I'm slow right now, commit to work an open house every weekend. I mean, you just have to do it. That's the market that we're in.
You have to go get where the people might be. And that matches one of the ones that I had down, which was do one to many. I'm a one to many person. If I can have a seminar or I can teach something, I love, who do I love? And, it's funny because mine's actually following my formula. Who's selling the fastest? That's relationship. Who do you need to be in a relationship? Who do you need to be a hero to? Validity is what do I need to know so that I'm more valid? And then, then the next one is going to be, what's the value that they're missing. But one of the ones I put is go one to many is, what kind of seller seminars could you do? What kind of buyer seminars? What kind of investor seminars? That's one to many. If you got 25 eyes, 25 people in the audience, you got 50 eyes looking at you. You don't got, you're not trying to sell one person. The odds are in your favor. So I put something similar to you said, which is go out to the public where the people are, but even try to bring them to you in a one to many type situation.
Yeah, there's so many agents. I feel like we've interviewed tons of them on the podcast, but that the seminars have been what they've built their whole business around.
Yeah.
Actually, funny you said your formula, because my last one is time.
Yeah. Oh, great. Good.
Which is so funny. And the last one that I said was make the time to get into trainings and classes. Like, it blows my mind.
Yes.
Right now that people are not just signing up for Bold as fast as they can, and they're not showing up for trainings. I mean, there is no better time. You have to learn the stuff that you need to do. And also, one of the things I said is, like, I said this before, but at Mega Camp, attendance was down, but everybody I saw was a top producer. I mean, the top people are in trainings. They're there. They're investing. They're growing.
Yeah. And that's exactly what my number 5 was. And I'll go back and tell number 3 in a minute. But number 5 was, you got to get around other people so you get new ideas, because you be around another top producer. And the best way to do it is through training. Go where they are. Which, like you said, at Mega Camp, they were all there. Where were you? Right.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to me that people, it's the one thing they want to leave off. And I bet if you interview every successful person, the one common denominator they have is they're on the front row of a lot of stuff. I mean, almost to the point where most people think, God, you got to go so many things. Yeah, because it's not just the value of what you're learning in the class, but the people you're around.
Totally.
They're going to give you an idea. They're going to give you a different energy. They're struggling with some of the same things you are, and they may have solved some of them. So that one ties with what you said. Go, make sure you're hanging around other top producers and people who want to be successful?
My favorite I think probably my favorite. I think it's my favorite, unless I think of a second favorite. But I think my favorite story from all of Mega Camp was when Gary asked Tim Grover, "How in the world did you get Michael Jordan to be your client?" And he said, funny story, I sent 14 handwritten notes to everybody, to other players on the team, but I didn't send one to MJ because I thought he was untouchable. And he said, but then, a couple weeks later or whatever it was, I got a call from one of Jordan's guys saying, "Hey, Michael heard about your letter. He wants to meet with you," or whatever. And he's like, "Well, I didn't even send him a letter." But his point was that none of those other 14 guys responded back to the letter, but they were talking about it in the locker room. And Michael called him because he said the best of the best are always looking to get better. Yeah. And I was like, that's it. Like, that's just the best analogy that you could even ever hear of that.
Yeah. So true. And I leaned over to Press during that and said, the one thing he had is he didn't go get the low producers and try to pull them up. He went after top producers to make them even better. I love that. And then my last one, this actually was number 3, is and which has to do with their value gaps. So my formula is R plus V over T. And the second V is, what is their value gaps? You have to understand, what are their obstacles that they're facing? What are the objections they're going to give you? What's causing them to hesitate on selling? What are they laying awake at night worrying about if they do sell, or what do they not know the answers to so they can move forward? You got to get real clear on that. And the only way you're going to do that is to get out talking to those people. They'll give you the answers. I've heard Gary Keller say it. I've heard Dan Sullivan say it. Most of the stuff that they come up with for their clients came from their clients.
Yeah.
And so the way you're going to learn what they're facing is to get out there. And here's what I've learned over my many years is, whatever a few of them tell you, it's going to be the problems of many of them. It's going to be the value gap of many of them. So it doesn't change much. Probably hasn't changed too much over the years, a little bit different now, but not much. And you can be prepared for those. Once you know a few of them, you can have the scripts and dialogues that help them make a great decision and go ahead and move forward if that's the right decision for them.
Yep.
But you cannot not figure out what are their obstacles and their thoughts in their head that's keeping them from moving forward.
Yep. I totally agree with that one. Totally agree with that. Hopefully these were some good tactical things that agents can go put in, pick, maybe not even pick all of them if you don't want to be overwhelmed, but 1 or 2, just because it seems like so many people are in panic mode right now.
Yeah.
And, this is where the opportunity is. I really believe that. I mean, I really believe that.
My business always grew in a down market. It never grew as much in an up market. And we've said this before, the market share you'll gain in this kind of market, you'll never lose again. But you've got to learn skill. This is a skill-based market. It's not a speed-based market. And so you got to figure out what, the minute you have an obstacle, turn that obstacle around to how can that be the solution? Because it is the solution.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out how to solve it.
Yep. Totally agree.
Great. All right. Well, great talk today, Dana. And remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pay Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anyone that you believe that would benefit from these conversations. And of course, if you like our conversations, be sure and give us a great review. And if you have a question, challenge, or opportunity that you'd like for us, or even a guest that you'd like to hear us interview on this podcast, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. So Dana, I guess I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. See you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.